Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Joe and Joe Weather Show, Sunday night show. Usually we're on at 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Sunday, but we had to decide on a late start due to family obligations. The Joe and Joe Weather Show brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon. 631-756-1125 is the telephone number, and the website is omnitruevalue.com. A good place to go to get all the stuff you need to prep yourself in case we get a tropical storm or a hurricane. Also brought to you by Wholesale Holiday Lighting by Giannini, your complete holiday lighting specialist, meeting all your decorating needs. Because you know what? Before you know it, you're going to be thinking about decorating for the holidays, or maybe you want to do this as a business, as a side business. Give them a call. They're at 162 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst on Long Island, 631-957-5106. And the website is liholidaylighting.com. So the summer weather, Joe Rayo is on the left. I'm Joe Chaffee. The summer weather moved in as advertised. I think it made up for the holiday weekend to a certain extent anyway. And I did notice today, Joe, that at least for Long Island, it just kind of was a good example of how effective the sea breeze is this time of year, because islip raced up to 90 degrees at 11 o'clock this morning, and that was the high for the day. And then after that, the wind went from west to southwest, and the next hour, the temperature actually dropped 2 degrees to 88, and it kind of stayed in the mid to upper 80s there. Bill Huber on the chat board said he's on the North Shore, northeast of Islip, and he got to 91. Same thing. It made it up all the way to the North Shore, and that's typical of early June. It's very hard to get a setup. You need an almost perfect, ideal setup to get into the 90s and hold it during this time of year, because the ocean is still too cold. Yeah. Yeah, but again, over the next 3 days, wind direction is going to be a big factor here. I'm just kind of giving a look around. Allentown got to 92. Let's see. Let's look at Atlantic City International Airport. They got to 91. The marina in Atlantic City, because the airport is inland. Correct. The marina only got to 82. Philadelphia today, let's see. Philadelphia got to 93. Reading, Pennsylvania, got to 94. Trenton, I'm having to call these up because I can't one by one because I can't load the map up. 92 for a high in Trenton. And let me just go up. There's one other place. They've got heat advisories up. Are those heat advisories or excessive heat? No, heat advisories up for the southern half of New Hampshire, a few counties in Vermont, and a good chunk of the state of Maine. So I just want to, just for laughs, I just want to pull up a few places up north just to see what their highs were today, because it did get pretty warm in New England. Hold on. So let me get the Climo here. So up in Portland right now is a lovely 73, and they got to 87. Okay. Manchester got to, they tied a record there in Manchester, New Hampshire, 94. a record high. I'm sorry, they didn't tie the record. They broke the record. 94, the high there. Augusta, Maine, 89, also a record high for them. And I'm going to do this for Bill Rogers, who's on the chat board tonight, who has openly admitted that he does not have air conditioning. Okay, okay. So let's see what some of those numbers were. And all right, starting with let's go to Bennington, Vermont. I can only pull up the stations that are on the Climo links that are on the Weather Service. 87 for a high in Bennington. Albany got to 88. And Pittsfield, Mass. We'll leave that. That's the next to last one, and then we'll do Capixie. 86 in Pittsfield. And Poughkeepsie, not too far from you, Joe, got to 92, which was also a record high. Ooh. Yeah, hold on a second. Thank you for telling us that. Hold on. Oh, good Lord. Oh, boy. Let me see. Yeah. All right, Joe, you keep talking while I can figure out what the hell's going on here. Do, 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 do. I don't understand why you're not getting picked up. Okay, let's see. Keep talking, Mr. Rayo.
Then.
Oh, you should be okay now. Hold on.
Hello? Can
you hear Mr. Rayo now? You should be able to hear you.
Steve LaPointe says we can't hear Rayo, but that may have been
yeah, they're on delay. So you I'm getting readings now. You're
yes.
I had after we did the show last Thursday,
yes.
I had a technical nightmare in that I was not able to get my broadcasting software to work, and so I had a
hello. Jimmy 132 says yes, we can.
Okay, good.
Yes, we can hear him.
Anyway, I've been doing. Okay, good. As it turned out, I've been doing most of the talking anyhow. So that worked out. No, I had it after Thursday because someone mentioned that there was some kind of static noise going on on my audio. So I went to fix it, and I think I did, but then I was not able to. And I was trying to run tests on YouTube, and I couldn't broadcast. It was not sending out a signal. So after about an hour, I finally just decided to shut the computer down and then reboot it. And then, of course, everything worked. But naturally, it had to go change your audio. I didn't even touch your audio output, and it went in there and changed it. So you,
Mr. Ruben Fairchild on the chat board has made his decision here. The amount of technical problems this man has is exasperating.
Yeah, it is, but I don't have a staff. Okay, I do 7 people's jobs here. So if it's exasperating, what can I tell you? Okay, if I could afford to hire somebody to do all the technicals, I would hire somebody to do all the technicals. But I can't afford it. I cannot afford it. So you'll just have to live with it. Okay. Anyhow, so I don't know how much weather you looked at over the weekend. Are you concerned about Thursday morning for the eclipse?
Yes, I am. It looks like the front is going to move through, but it looks like there's going to be a buckling of the front just to our west. And what appears to me, Joe, is that things may clear for a few hours around the time of the eclipse and then very quickly start going downhill again soon after sunrise. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to open up a few hours to allow for us to see the event. And then after 6:30, I don't care.
Gotcha.
So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, that front, that front kind of sags southward and just sort of stalls on top of us, and it's weak initially. So you got to squeeze in a few hours where before that buckling occurs. Maybe you can squeeze in a few hours where skies are at least partially clear. I mean, I don't think it's impossible that could happen. So we'll just have to keep our fingers crossed, because it does look especially tenuous.
Yeah, but the thing is that we're looking at maps that are in 6-hour increments. So we're looking at the map for 2 o'clock in the morning. Well, that's much too early. The sun isn't even up at that hour. And then we jump ahead to 8 o'clock in the morning. And as you mentioned, it looks somewhat tenuous. But then on the other hand, the eclipse is already over for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. So it's a time frame that we're looking at for 5:30 or thereabouts in the New York metropolitan area. And maybe, just maybe, we'll be able to eke out enough clear weather during that time frame before things start going downhill again later on in the morning and on into the afternoon. We were talking last week. We touched upon maybe fog, and we had lots of fog yesterday morning, Joe. Burned off quickly, literally a couple hours after sunrise, it was gone. But I said, if this happens again on Thursday morning, this ain't going to do anybody any good. We need to get clear, as the sun is coming up, and we don't have to wait. And the other thing that's a drawback is the fact that the fog burns off, within an hour or two after sunup. And on Thursday morning, we're not even going to be working with a full sun. We're going to be working with like 80%, only 20% of sun. The 80% is going to be behind the moon. So if you're hoping that, a rapid burn off, the sun won't even be able to help you that morning. So we'll have to wait and see. I told a friend, he's on the chat board here, Evan Zucker, and Evan is going to be traveling to Michigan to try to see the eclipse from the Upper Peninsula. But the thing about, I told him last night, I prefer to wait now until we get within 84 hours. The NAM, for example, will be within the 84-hour mark and within the time frame of the eclipse later tonight on the 0Z run.
Right.
And usually when we get within 84 hours, things start to become better predicted. I mean, up until now, the models have been vacillating, going back and forth. But now, once we get within 84 hours, I think we'll get a pretty good handle as to what is going to be happening come Thursday morning for the Sky Show.
Dave, aka Alaska Railroad, Joe, I forgot what it was on the map. Is the eclipse going to be visible in Alaska? He asks.
No, I don't think it will be. Yeah, it's basically going to be visible from the northern and eastern sections of North America, and unfortunately for folks in Alaska, the eclipse starts and ends before sunrise. So that's pretty much the story for folks who live out to the west of us.
The Golden Twister 888 is rubbing it in because he's down in Aruba enjoying himself. Enjoy yourself and have a great time. By the way, I only got to 80 here, so a few people were commenting. At least Bill Rogers I saw earlier was wondering how I'm standing it here in the oppressive heat of Georgia. It actually hasn't been that hot here. I had clouds most of the day and a little bit of a breeze. It was a little on the humid side, and got to about 80 or so. So it was certainly manageable.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah,
I tell you, you move down to Georgia. What happens? You take the lovely weather with you, and you have all the rest of us sweltering up here.
Yes. Well, what we can do is when we get to it, we can, the GFS at least has the simulated satellite on Tropical Tidbits.
Hold it just a moment. Evan corrects me. Evan Zucker says the eclipse will be visible in central and northern Alaska. So if you're up in the central or northern part of Alaska, And that makes some sense too, because the darn thing is going to be visible from the North Pole. So,
Right.
for goodness sake, if you're going to be all the way up in the polar regions, and that is where central and northern Alaska is for all intents and purposes, you will be able to see it from up there.
Okay, Dave, we stand. He stands corrected. You probably will be able to see the eclipse, provided your weather cooperates there in Alaska. And let's see. All right, let's get into a little bit of weather. One of the things I wanted to bring up, because somebody had left a question back last week. I only got to it a few days ago with regards to all the rains that have been going on in Texas, and they were concerned with respect to the folks what they experienced in Hurricane Harvey. Well, that was different, obviously, when you have a tropical storm. And you're talking about a storm that in some places produced 4 feet of rain, but that was all squeezed into about 3 days time frame. So obviously the flooding was disastrous. In this particular instance, there certainly is localized flooding going on, but we've kind of spread this rain out over the course of the last week or more. I mean, these are still big amounts. But with some areas getting those purple shadings that you see on the map here, 10 to 15 inches worth of rain, well to the north and west of Houston, more toward Austin and the towns out west of the coast. The darker reds are generally between 5 and 8 inches. I mean, it's a lot of rain, but it certainly is nothing compared to what happened with Hurricane Harvey, because this has really been just this almost endless flow of moisture coming in, this southeast flow of moisture. There's been an upper low sitting over Texas for well over a week now, and they've just been kind of pouring in this southeast flow with waves of moisture and rain. The other piece of good news I would point out, from the standpoint, at least at the moment, is when we look at the radar. Now, obviously, this is our radar as of 8:30 Eastern time. Obviously, it's absolutely quiet here in the Northeast down into the Mid-Atlantic states. There are some thunderstorms this evening in parts of West Virginia, and also on the other side, on the Virginia side. A few clusters there in North Carolina, some bigger clusters in South Carolina and in Georgia south of Atlanta. Looks like I've got a rain. I had a couple of rain showers here this morning, nothing heavy at all, just pretty much light stuff. And looks like there's another one near me at the moment. But at least at this time, it's pretty dry here across Texas and into western Louisiana. Now the rain's probably going to pick up again. Some earlier rain that was in Louisiana has moved east and producing showers and thunderstorms from central southern Alabama into southeast Louisiana. And you're seeing some clusters of thunderstorms also back in parts of Arkansas and into Oklahoma and Missouri. And bigger storms and some severe storms in southwestern Nebraska. And also looks like there's a big thunderstorm well to the east of Denver, another little cluster there in southeast Wyoming. So the organized action, the widespread rains that we saw in Texas at least took a little bit of a break today, and that break continues this evening. So that's pretty good news. And on the satellite, you can still see the rotation with the upper low in eastern Oklahoma. Now, it's moved a little bit further to the east, and that really helped matters today. And eventually, this is all going to finally start to go away in the next couple of days. So perhaps the worst of it is over with respect to the rain, although now it seems to have shifted a bit east. In the meantime, Joe, you look at the Northeast, it's pretty quiet. We're still under this ridge position here, and that means for a stable atmosphere. We're going to start to have to, some of this stuff that's bubbling up, moving up into the Mississippi Valley, might get closer on Tuesday, I think, and that's when we may have to start throwing in the chances for some showers and storms inland, at least inland, maybe even to the coast. But I think tomorrow should be okay for the most part.
I'm looking at SPC, the Storm Prediction Center, and it's very unusual to me. I know you're probably going to get to it in the next few minutes.
Which day are you looking at? I'll put the map up now.
I'm looking at day 3, which would be Tuesday.
Okay, I'll put the map up.
I don't know about you. Now, I don't know if you could remember. I certainly don't. But I am impressed by the fact that it looks like at least 80% of the contiguous or 48 United States looks like they are in the zone of general thunderstorm activity. The only place where you can find anything relative to marginal or even a slight risk of severe seems to be confined to the northern sections of the Rockies and the Plain States, around eastern sections of Montana and western sections of North Dakota, extending down to a bit into western sections of South Dakota. But this is like somebody has taken a green paintbrush and literally brushed 3/4 or more of the country with the threat of general or possible thunderstorms. It's only out in the Pacific and down into the desert Southwest that are out of that zone for possible thunderstorm activity. It's amazing.
Pretty much everywhere east of the Rockies.
Right. No severe in let's say the Northeast or even down your way, and they even have a cutout of no thunderstorms at all along the so-called Space Coast or East Coast of Florida. And you would expect at this time of the year that every place in Florida usually gets a thunderstorm, but for whatever reason, I guess because of easterly winds off of the Atlantic Ocean, they decided to cut out the threat of showers or thunder showers along the east coast of Florida. But everywhere else in the Florida Peninsula, and again, most everybody across the eastern 2/3 of the country are in that chance for a little bit of thunderstorm activity or some general thunderstorm activity.
You got to love that little safe haven in eastern South Dakota and southwestern Minnesota. That little corner in northwestern.
Where did they come up with that?
I know, the little corner in northwestern Iowa, the little corner there in northeastern Nebraska. So we kid about them, and that's the opposite, Joe. Of when they sometimes we've seen it where they have this sort of like this on WPC's map where they have this little pinpoint. They'll pinpoint one spot. And it'll get so much more precip than anybody else, and you wonder, well, why? How do they know that? How do they? These guys they get paid good money to create these little safe havens like they do. So
it's like what I have said from the time we started this show, and I think you'll agree. The two of us, we are knowledgeable. For all of our years of doing this sort of thing, we're knowledgeable in all branches of forecasting, but we basically are just general practitioners. We are not experts in severe weather. We are not experts in long-range forecasting. There are, as you just said, Joe, the people are getting the bucks to be paid and being in those various NOAA divisions of Storm Prediction Center in Oklahoma or the Climate Prediction Center over in Suitland, Maryland. I mean, those people, they know their stuff. We know our stuff too, but we know them in a general sense. We're not experts. We're not,
right. We know a little bit of stuff about a lot of things, and they know and they focus their attention by knowing a lot of stuff about one general subject matter. Severe weather.
I'm sure that if you were to go to Norman, Oklahoma, and talk to the guys and gals who work in the Storm Prediction Center, and you start talking about, let's say, hurricanes. Well, what do you think about hurricane? What do you think about the possibility of some severe weather in association with a tropical wave? And it's going to come to a point where they're going to say, look, why don't you talk to the people at the National Hurricane Center, because that's their thing. Our thing is trying to predict just severe weather for specific regions. They're the experts in hurricanes. We're the experts in thunderstorm activities. See, it all works out.
Yeah,
that's how it all.
Marginal risk tonight in northwest Texas and in north central Texas, and tomorrow, which is day 2. Oh, I got that. This reminds me. I just got to tell you this because this really just drove me crazy. Tomorrow's severe weather risk is in northern South Dakota, in west and north, the northwestern half of South Dakota. You can almost cut the state in half on a diagonal there. And of course, you see that slight risk there that extends up into North Dakota and northwestern Minnesota. The marginal risk goes up there. They do have general thunderstorms, though, Joe, everywhere east of the Rockies except for that little sliver from eastern Nebraska to northwestern Wisconsin. and that tiny area in northwestern Michigan on the Upper Peninsula, and no storms forecast for Central or South Florida. That's something you don't see too often. And going on to day 3, of course, we've already showed you what we had for day 3. Day 4 being Wednesday to Thursdays when we have our cold front dropping down from the north. Right now, SPC has predictability too low. I'm thinking maybe as a possibility that we could see maybe a marginal risk with that cold front coming down. I don't know about anything more than that. But they've got day 5. SPC does have a 15% chance in the western Dakotas and western Nebraska and eastern Montana. So they seem to already be paying attention to the possibility of something significant going on in the day 5 time frame. But as for us on the day 4, I'm thinking maybe they'll put a little marginal risk in there in the Northeast for day 4. We'll find out tomorrow. But I have to tell you, let me come back full screen. So when did we have? Was it? I'm sorry. Friday. Okay. Friday. So they did this to me twice on Friday. So Friday morning, and I have 3 weather websites that I update every day, and I haven't missed a day in almost 7 years. Meteorologistjoechaffee.com, and it's free. So I put up at least one post a day on the daily weather, and then when the weather is active, I might do a second or third post. And of course, the folks that are on my subscription platform, they get extra stuff all the time. So on Friday morning, I looked at, whenever they put up the risk map, I always like to include that in my synopsis. So I hit I waited till about 8:30 I saw that their forecast was updated. I hit the send button. Okay. I hit the publish button. Published it. It had a marginal risk. Had the marginal risk up to wherever it had it up toward near New York City or just west of New York City. Within 15 minutes after having done that, they revamped their forecast for Friday and pushed the slight risk all the way up. Okay, that was the first time that day. The second time that day was at about 2:30 or 3 o'clock. It was between 2:30 and 3 o'clock, Joe. So I updated the fact that there were already some thunderstorms. There were already some severe thunderstorm warnings that were up in parts of southeastern Pennsylvania. Some flash flood warnings had gone out. So I updated for the fact that there would be thunderstorms this evening into the evening. That some of those thunderstorms could possibly be severe because they were already there. It was sort of that made it a no-brainer. I hit the publish button. 5 minutes, Joe. 5 minutes after I hit the publish button, I put it at 2:55. At 3 o'clock, they put up a severe thunderstorm watch.
Ding, ding, ding.
They did it twice to me on that day, and this is, it's like they wait for me to push the button. They said, "Okay, Chaffee just pushed his button. He just did all his work, and he just finished it now." Because I had to go back then and update it. I mean, it was right away, so it didn't get distributed, all over the place. So I was able to update it fairly quickly, but it just was the principle of the thing. They got me twice that day.
And you talk about how they waited for you. I'm really beginning to wonder now, Joe, because for all the time, once we discovered on the real-time weather data for the WSR 88D radar maps and everything else, and we said, "Boy, look at this! This is beautiful. These maps and the loops and everything else." And then very quickly, right after we made that discovery, what happened? What happened? First the contiguous United States loop went down.
Right now,
I notice that they say Mosaic data feeds have been discontinued.
Yes, naturally.
I mean, they must have said the Joe and Joe show. Hey, the Joe and Joe show are showing those great maps. We can't let them show those maps. Everybody's going to start using these maps. We have to get them to use the ones that are on the Weather Service website. And they just discontinued. I can't believe this. I can't believe it.
And I just can't bring myself to go back to using the Weather Service radar because you still,
No, no.
the contrast on the radars. If they would fix the contrast, that would solve 95% of the problem. If they would just fix the darn contrast, it's too light and you can't see. It's very difficult to see the bigger echoes. It all just sort of blends into this one mess. So we've got Tornado HQ, which is wonderful because we get the warnings up as they're coming in, and that's great. But we can't loop that radar. I would like to put up a loop radar. So I actually have I actually use Zoom Radar. It's on my website, and I can use it on the live streams. So that's Jeff Baradelli's company. So I can use it on my live streams, but I got to kind of figure out a way because it eats data up when it comes down. So I don't want it to interfere with the live stream. So I got to figure that out. But this is all part of the process here, folks. This isn't easy. Producing this show is not easy. And it's actually and I've always had a great appreciation and a great respect for the technical people that we worked with for many years side by side at different places that we worked at. But this is actually giving me even more added respect because they could solve these technical problems so quickly, and I struggle with it. So, but like I said earlier, I'm the jack of all trades. I got to do everything here, and from the technical side, and it is difficult.
It's horrible. In fact, the Capital Weather Gang did a scathing review of the quote-unquote new radar that went into effect last December from the National Weather Service. And a lot of people, more people than you can imagine, all complaining and asking, why can't we go back to the old radar? But according to the Weather Service, they can't. It's gone, it's done, and now you have to accept, kind of like the soup Nazi, I mean, the radar Nazi. No good radar for you.
Yeah, exactly. Bill Rogers says he's amazed at how savvy I am for a man over 60.
Oh, God.
I will take that as a compliment. I will take that as a compliment. Well, I've always said, Joe, you finally get old enough that you finally get your head together, and what happens? Your ass falls apart. So
yeah, exactly.
Anyway,
exactly. People ask me about the gray hair, and they said, well, maybe the reason why you're not in television anymore is because they look at the gray hair. Well, obviously they look at the gray hair, but the gray hair for 21 years, well, not 21. It started going gray when I got into television full time, and then gradually it went to this color. But it became my persona, and I remember way back in the mid '90s, I was debating whether or not I should use Grecian formula on this gray because I went gray prematurely, and some television expert said, "No, don't do that." He said, "In my opinion, silver is gold. It's a sign of."
Well, now it's back.
Oh, I see the buffer wheel.
All right, hang on.
The circle of death. Now it's back.
Okay.
Now I see the QPF, the 7-day rainfall total.
Okay. Let's let them know. Quick internet hit. Okay.
And Bill Rogers said just after I complimented Joe Chaffee, his internet went out.
Well, you see how savvy I was? I seem to have gotten it back. It seems to have come back. All right. WPC in all its glory is, I guess from the standpoint of what will happen after the front buckles later this week and we get the next round of moisture, Joe. We've got some big rains across western New Jersey, back through Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, West Virginia, Northern Virginia, on the order of 1.5 inches to some places 3 inches plus. That extends down into Tennessee and Arkansas and even into me getting into. Actually, I could use some rain here. It's been very dry. But that looks like that might come from the buckling of that weather front at the end of next week. Some rain up in the northernmost part of the northern plains and across southern Canada there. South central Canada looks like getting a substantial amount of moisture. Also from northern California on up to the Pacific Northwest, maybe an inch or so of rain there. The Southwest is bone dry. Not a whole lot of rain going on in central and south Florida. And also some good news, at least for central and south Texas, in that rainfall over the next 7 days should be minimal. Not the case in northern Texas, northeast Texas, where the rainfall amounts are going to be on the order of 1 to 2 inches, but certainly not another foot of rain like I showed you earlier. So some good news there. So let's roll along here. I pulled up the upper air to show what's going on, and I just rolled it back. It starts off with Saturday. The trough from Friday, of course, lifted out. You see the ridging that built along the East Coast. Something to take note of, by the way, is the fact that the ridge that built in the east over this weekend and into the early part of next week is not building anywhere near as strong as what the models were showing last week. And I wonder whether that might be something that we may have to pay attention to going forward, where the models have been essentially overwarming, making ridges too strong in the eastern part of the United States. This is not the first time we've seen this. This happened, I think, also back in during the month of May when we had that little stretch of very warm weather before Memorial Day. This is the second time we've seen the models trying to build strong ridges in the eastern part of the United States, and it hasn't happened. So maybe this will be the trend for the summer. Well,
as getting back to the forecast for Thursday morning for the eclipse, I told Eric Zucker and all of you who are interested in the weather for the eclipse, that's 84 by 0Z tonight with the 0Z run. There'll be 84 hours down the road, and as we often say in the wintertime, when we have the potential of a snowstorm, for example, Joe, and we see how the forecasts are vacillating from 6 to 10 inches. No, wait a minute, it's going to be 2 inches. Wait a minute, jump back up to 4 inches, back and forth. Once we get the data that's out over the Pacific Ocean, inland over the western United States, and the sampling by the radiosondes of that data can come in and get fed into the supercomputers, from 84 hours on down to the actual event, the forecasts pick up and become far more accurate. Up until now, in the forecast for later this week and beyond, the models are more or less just guessing. The algorithms are trying to work off, certain things and saying, putting more emphasis on one thing for one run and then another thing on the other run. But I honestly believe that once we get past 84 hours, or once we get under 84 hours, at least for later this week, we'll have a better handle on things. You're pointing out there on the just had another internet hit.
Yes, and now it just came back again. Hold on.
Yeah.
I'm apologizing for this, folks. This is not my doing. There's something going on, I guess, with the system here, the internet here. That it's not me. It's not me in my room where I'm doing my show. It's not my computer. It's the internet. I have yet to hear from Starlink. I am waiting to hear from Starlink so I can get that satellite internet up and going, and that'll hopefully put an end to these interruptions. I've got the upper air here this is for tomorrow night. So you see that there is a deep trough along and off the west coast. The remnants of that upper low moving into Missouri, so this should see improving weather conditions for Texas. And of course, you see the upper high, which is actually out to our east. And that's a big change because the ridge was supposed to be inland of the coast. So now with the ridge offshore, that brings the south wind in question, which I think we're going to see some of it tomorrow and again maybe on Tuesday. But eventually, what it did seem to get right, though, was this upper low forming in northern Labrador that drops down toward Newfoundland, and you see it there. This is for Wednesday, where we have this backdoor cold front that's coming down. It's relatively shallow, so the upper atmosphere, we're still kind of in this ridge position. The upper trough that's swinging down through Labrador and Nova Scotia, Joe, I think is far enough north and east that we were talking before about whether there might be a little bit of marginal risk for Wednesday with the cold front coming through. That's why I'm thinking it probably won't be more than that, because the trough is, if the trough were further southwest, and running across New England and upstate New York, then yeah, we would probably see a slight risk. But I'm thinking at most we'll probably see a marginal risk. Christina Petey, Starlink is available. I'm on the beta testing. I've already been informed that I'm going to get. I'm getting it. That was about 2 months ago, and I've already paid to be part of the beta test. But I'm still waiting to hear when exactly it's going to start for me. So that's why I'm confident that at some point it's going to happen. All right, let's running through the GFS in the longer term. Of course, it's hard. There's not a whole lot of flow here in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic states. So when this front gets hung up, it's going to need a push to get out of the way, and it probably won't happen until later Friday or Friday night. So maybe we'll see some improvement as you start to see the westerlies drop southward on Friday night, Saturday, and we go to a northwest flow. So perhaps the weather could improve over next weekend before the next upper low comes down. You see that little upper low that forms near Lake Winnipeg and then drops down through the Great Lakes and into West Virginia and Virginia for early next week. So we'll have to watch this to see if this is going to be problematic in terms of rain. And then that trough pulls out, and then we get a little bit of ridging, but we don't see any big ridges developing. The other thing I would point out is that pressures in the middle of the month, we talked about the fact that pressures in the southern Gulf of Mexico and in the Caribbean will be on the low side. That still, I think, may be the case. So if there's going to be something tropical, it'll probably happen in the middle of the month down in that region, which is the climatologically favorable area. Johnny Quest asking about the trough in the west bringing rain for the west. Let me just look back at this really quick. So here's the trough that's there now that drops into the west coast, but most of that goes. When that lifts up, it lifts up into Idaho and Montana. It just briefly clips Colorado. I don't think that they'll get a whole lot of rain out of this because of the trough being almost too far west. Another one drops in off the west coast, and then that swings eastward. And again, much of that lifts up into southwestern Canada. So it's a little problematic here. They'll get rain in maybe Washington, Oregon, and Northern California into Nevada, but they're not going to get it further south and southeast where the drought is pretty strong. So you need something to really kind of break through and move from west to east and go smashing inland, and that does not appear to happen. And as far as the east is concerned, here we are going into Father's Day weekend. And you can see there's a lot of amplitude here in the eastern part of the United States. That's not a shabby looking trough there for June 19th. So this
I've already forgotten what was the weather for Mother's Day. It's already gone out of my head.
Didn't it rain?
Did we have decent weather for Mother's?
I think it started dry, but then we got rain that came in.
Right. I remember that now. Kind of a drab start, and then. The rain held off until about mid-afternoon. I remember I was watching. Jacob deGrom was pitching that day for the Mets at Citi Field, and yeah, now I remember. It's all coming back to me. So let's see how Dad's Day goes relative to what Mom had. But as you just mentioned, that's quite an interesting scenario for Father's Day weekend. Not this weekend, but the following weekend. That far down.
Right. On the surface, going into this week, of course, here we are with scattered stuff in the afternoon. All that moisture he showed you on the satellite. You see all the clouds there that are moving into the Mississippi Valley and into parts of the southeast. Well, that's going to be enough moisture maybe to trigger off some thunderstorms tomorrow west of the Appalachians. You get a little upper air disturbance tomorrow evening, produces a few storms in central PA and maybe up into the Catskills. And then you start to see on Tuesday morning, some leftover cells up in northeast PA and on up into New England, and then it gets more numerous in the afternoon and into the evening. So I think we have to throw it in our forecast here for Tuesday. And then Wednesday with the cold front, this is what the GFS is producing. Now here's the front for Wednesday. This is Wednesday evening. It looks like the front is right about there as I've drawn it. And then when we move into Thursday morning, it's just kind of hanging here. It's just sort of hanging across southern New Jersey. I think you're going to just have to hope that you get just enough dry air that maybe you get a few hours of some partially clear skies, because right after that, Joe, it clouds up pretty quickly, I would think.
Right.
And then we've got these scattered showers and storms, late Thursday night into Friday. They get more numerous on Friday as a low forms to our south. We've got an east-southeast flow here, so maybe it'll be a day where temperatures are in the 60s all day. And then finally on Saturday, that wave moves out to the east and we see improvement so that the weekend won't be too bad. But if you want this hot weather to come back next weekend, that's not I don't think that's going to happen, because of where the high is and the fact that you've got this low going out underneath us. And, there's not much of a ridge. There's not much of a ridge here building into the eastern part of the United States after this next low moves out of the way. And I'll bring up let's look at the simulated satellite on the GFS.
Simulated satellite, yes.
Yes, let's look at the simulated IR satellite here. This goes out only 115 hours, but at least it will take us into, Thursday morning. Let me just roll it back. Okay, so this is what the simulated satellite looks like at 3 a.m. Thursday morning. I don't know if you can see it yet, but
I'm still waiting to.
You won't be happy with this. Just put this that way. This is the 3.
The eclipse is not at 3 a.m.
All right, but this is the 3 a.m. one. So now the next time frame they have is 6 hours later. So this is 9 a.m. Okay, so this cuts it really, really, really close for you for the eclipse.
Yeah.
It really does.
See. It is and it's also the intermediate, and I would prefer to hang my hat on the
12Z. We could bring up the 12Z. Let's see what the 12Z.
No. I'm not, well, I'm talking about like 0Z tonight, and again within 84 hours. So we'll see.
Well, for laughs, the 12Z would suggest that you got that little cutout there, where maybe you'll have some breaks in the cloud cover. So maybe, just maybe.
Maybe.
Oh.
I meant I to reveal this now to everybody on the chat board here, is that come Thursday morning for the eclipse, I am scheduled to be with Lonnie Quinn at Campo Beach in Westport. Lonnie, they have on the schedule. He is supposed to work and do the 11 o'clock Wednesday night weathercast for Channel 2. As a concession to him that they don't want him to come back into New York or stay in New York until 5 o'clock the next morning for the eclipse, Lonnie is going to go home, probably get like 1 or 2 hours of sleep, and then he's going to go to Campo Beach, and I'm supposed to meet him there, where we will be doing live coverage of the eclipse for CBS Channel 2 at 5:30 in the a.m., maybe even earlier than that. I don't know yet what the game plan is.
And for those of you who are not in the New York area and don't get WCBS TV, you obviously, if you go to CBSNews.com, I think you can stream it live from there. Also, if you have the Pluto CBSN, you can stream it live from there. Or if you have Pluto TV, you can watch it on the Pluto TV app, because they have a whole bunch of TV stations up all over the place that you can watch it. I think the WCBS TV in New York is included in that.
In fact, speaking of Lonnie on Thursday morning, the two of us are going to. I've seen Lonnie from a distance at Emmy award banquets and whatever over the past. I never had a chance to go up to him and say hi, that kind of thing. So we're going to meet for the first time actually tomorrow at noon. We're going to be the Hayden Planetarium, which this week is going to be crazy with this eclipse. I'm going to be down at the Hayden to help out with the media coverage, and I believe CBS is coming down tomorrow at noontime to shoot some video for a pre-eclipse report. And Lonnie is going to be, and this is the funny thing, you expect that they would send like a reporter regular reporter to cover it. No, they told Lonnie, we want you to cover the eclipse and do the report. So he's coming down there, and I'll have a chance to see him on tomorrow, and we'll see each other in the dark, and hopefully not in the rain on Thursday morning.
Oh, Johnny Quest just timed out Ruben Fairchild for 300 seconds.
Can you see what the message was that was deleted? Or
oh, no, I'm not going to repeat it. I saw the message. I'm not going to repeat it. You can tell me off air. I'll tell you off air. If you when you see Lonnie, tell him I said hello, and then I send my best.
He has the highest. I've mentioned the Joe and Joe show. I think once again, as was the case with, I think it was who was it? There was another. Nick Gregory.
Nobody wants to touch us, Joe. Nobody wants to touch us.
No, it's not that.
No, I know it's not them.
They have to get permission from the hierarchy that the station that they work for, and the hierarchy tells them, well, you're only supposed to be on our station. You're not supposed to be anybody else's station. So that's, we're running into a brick wall here.
The fact that the fact that they could get a free promo is just apparently beyond them, but.
Yeah, it goes over their heads.
Yeah,
crazy.
Typical.
So do we have a Briller Jeopardy, or is that?
No, we do not. Scott said we will resume that tomorrow. So I don't have one, and you don't have one.
Okay, so tomorrow it's 8:30, Joe.
All right, yeah. Let's get the schedule out today while we have everybody here. So let's get the schedule out for the week today. So 8:30 tomorrow. What's the deal for Tuesday?
I'm checking. Please. This is going to be a crazy week coming up. At least it's going to be crazy up until the 9th. Now tomorrow, let's see what I got tomorrow. Now this is going to be interesting. I have to be at the Hayden Planetarium at noontime, but I have to be back here at 3:00 because I have South Huntington Library to do.
Okay.
And then I've got the Pelham, Somers, and Warner libraries in Terrytown. They're all joined forces at 7:00 tomorrow night. So that means Joe and Joe tomorrow night would have to be at 8:30.
All right, so 8:30
tomorrow night.
8:30 tomorrow night. What about Tuesday?
Tuesday I have Port Jervis at 6:30, and then I have the Westwood Library at 8. So if we did Joe and Joe, it would have to be no earlier than 9:30. Can you hold on until 9:30? It's 9:30 almost right now.
I'm okay with. I can hold on till 9:30. So 9:30 on Tuesday. Right. All right. Let me write these down. All right. So let me go write these down. So that my 62-year-old brain remembers this. All right. So Monday is 8:30 p.m. Tuesday is 9:30 p.m. Wednesday?
And Wednesday, forget it. I'm not going to be around because on Wednesday I have a tandem of libraries at 3 p.m. LaGrange, Kingston, Esopus, Millbrook,
Esopus,
Pleasant Valley, Esopus.
Esopus?
That's have you ever been the river, the Esopus River?
Oh.
Up near Hunter Mountain?
No, it just suddenly reminded me of it reminded me of the Bugs Bunny cartoon with Hansel and Gretel. Hansel?
Gretel?
Hansel?
That's at 3
all right,
p.m.
so I will solo on Wednesday.
Then Sussex County Library, West Orange Library at 6 p.m. And then at 7:30 p.m., the Library Association of Warehouse Point in East Windsor, Connecticut.
Oh, my God.
Now, that, in theory, we could do Joe and Joe at 9:00, but I got to get some sleep because I got to be with Mr. Quinn at 5:00 the following morning. So,
all right, so Wednesday, Wednesday I'm soloing. What about Thursday?
From Thursday onward, I'm wide open.
All right, we're going back to
Friday, Saturday.
All right, so Thursday at 7:30, and then next Sunday we'll be back at the regular time, which is 11:00 Eastern time.
Correct. Now,
okay, so everybody, you got that. Hold on. We got this schedule for this week, so everybody knows it's 8. Tomorrow is 8:30. Tuesday 9:30. Wednesday I'll be by myself, and I'll have to struggle to do it. Thursday, 7:30. And then next Sunday, we'll be back to 11 o'clock Eastern Time.
Correct. And if you want to look way down the road, June 15th, I have, you ready for this show? June 15th, I have the East Providence, Rhode Island Public Library, but that's at 6 p.m., so we can probably get away with doing a 7:30 show that night.
Jason Schaefer, can we have a live stream during the eclipse? Well, he's going to be with La Quinn on Thursday. La Rayo is going to be with La Quinn, so I'm in North Georgia with a huge with mountains so I don't see the sun go above the mountains till about 9 o'clock or so. So if I can find somebody to do it, I would gladly come on in the morning and live stream it from maybe somebody on Long Island or whatever. But I think that's going to be a very tough sell for me to pull off. So unfortunately,
I just did the Putnam Valley Library before we did this thing, and I had told the head librarian, that in all likelihood we could announce that I was going to be at the Putnam Valley Elementary School to watch the eclipse, which is where I was for the transit of Venus 17 years ago, almost to the day. And I had to tell him tonight, unfortunately, I'm not going to be at the elementary school. I'm going to be about 50 miles away to the east. So anyway, what else can you do?
Right, exactly.
What are you going to do when the rent comes due?
Well, of course, right. Of course, all of this could be for naught if it turns out to be overcast on Thursday morning. So we'll see.
Sure. I mean, what? I might get the phone call, let's say Wednesday evening, from Lonnie or from somebody at CBS saying, "Forget about it, forget about the whole thing." So we'll see.
Mr. Ruben Fairchild is offering to live stream it to live stream to provide the eclipse to live stream it.
Oh, lovely! Does he have a filter to put in front of his lens?
And a piece of duct tape over his mouth? I don't know. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Craig Kahlberg, you said Mrs. Rayo is not as proficient in weather as Joe R. is. Let me tell you something, Craig Kahlberg. The two of us worked at a weather company side by side together before we were married and during the time we were married. In fact, we're looking forward to this on Thursday morning because she's going to be with me when we drive out. We're going to get up probably at 3:30 in the morning. I said to her this afternoon, I said, this is going to be like the old days, because we used to do this. We used to wake up at the crack of dawn, before the crack of dawn, for God's sake, in the middle of the night, and drive into work at like 4 or 5 in the morning. And as far as not being as proficient as I was, let me tell you, the two of us got into the biggest arguments we have had in 37 years of marriage. This will be 37 in September. The biggest arguments way back then was who was correct in terms of the forecasts. I mean, we went at each other toe for toe. So
this was before you were married or after?
This was even before we were married.
All right, before we were married, before we were married, the resolution of the argument could go either way. After you're married, hers were better.
Yeah, but she got PO'd. No, she got PO'd after we were married, and after she retired to have our first child. I mean, I would come home from work, and she'd look at me and say, "What did they show? Where are the maps? Did you bring home any maps?" And I said, "No, I didn't. I love that." "Why did you bring home any maps? I want to see my NGM." I don't want to look at that icebox with those 4 walls. I want to look at Liberace.
Yes, you do. And you may real soon. Oh, good Lord. All right,
I'm punchy, Joe. I've been going at it since 9:30.
I know. I had my grandsons here. I took them fishing today, and I also made. I started making it on Friday. I made my sauce and the sauce meat, and then I made the pasta today, and I also made some. I also baked some chicken. I baked some chicken thighs in the oven. And then I had to go to the store because I didn't have ice cream, so I had to go pick up some ice cream. So took care of that, and I just was, when they left, I was completely wiped out. Completely wiped out. And,
I know.
and
I
so
know
is JJ.
Oh, JJ. Well, once the kids saw JJ, they probably ran him ragged, right? JJ!
Well,
JJ!
this is JJ. This is what he does during the show. He actually comes in. I get on the computer about a half an hour before, so he. This is every night. This is what he does. He's out. He's totally out.
This is like when I watch Bob Ross, the painter, on PBS. Within 5 minutes, I'm out. So,
yes.
Nighty night, JJ. And my wife made chicken today, and I had just like one chicken. Like I said, I really am not in the mood to have. I'm not hungry. I wasn't hungry. Dear, if you're watching, and I know you are right now, get a plate because I'm going to be ready to attack that chicken right now.
Alaska, Dave, a.k.a. Alaska Railroad, says he's grilling moose burgers tonight. I've had moose. It's good. It's very good. I wish you could beam some over to me. I've been watching too much Star Trek Voyager. I wish you could beam some over to me because I've loved that. It's very good. Yep, there he is. That's my JJ. And he actually, I had him on leash today, and he took off for a little while. He went into the woods. He saw something, and I have to tell you, my dog is fast. I watch him. When you watch him run, I wish I could time his speed because it's got to be 35 miles an hour. He just flies, absolutely flies. He's discovered rabbits. And squirrels run up trees, so then he just kind of stops at the tree where they've run up so I can get him. But when he sees a rabbit, the rabbits keep going, so he goes with them. I got a little nervous there for a while because he wasn't coming back, but then he finally came back. So, that was a little scary.
They had, by the way, Joe, on Me TV yesterday morning. You'd have loved this. They had the episode, the first cartoon out of the box yesterday. First Warner Brothers cartoon was the one with Daffy Duck, and they had Peter Lorre. Give me your wishbone.
Yeah.
Remember that? Maybe I can use a dog's wishbone instead.
Yes. Scott Briller heading super chat tonight. Thank you, Scott. Most appreciated. And next Sunday we'll be back. We'll get Renata back in here for another a cooking segment. I know Bill Rogers says he's waiting for my next cooking video. I promise one of these days I will get to it. I got so much on my hands right now that it's a little tough. Plus, getting into the summertime, it's no fun turning the oven on. So, but I will do it. I promise. One of these days it'll be there. Okay. So let's wrap it up on a night where we've had a few technical difficulties, but we managed to stagger through it in one form or another. So everybody's got the schedule here. Tomorrow night we will be at 8:30 Eastern Time. Tuesday at 9:30 Eastern Time. Wednesday I will solo at 7:30 Eastern Time. And Thursday is 7:30 Eastern Time. Does that all sound correct to you?
Sounds correct to me. And till tomorrow night. Good night, everybody.
Yes, good night, everybody. I hope you had a great weekend and have a great week ahead. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Yeah.